name is Gavin Evans, and this is another episode of We Review. And this time on We Review, I will be reviewing Train to Busan. Now, this is a movie that I could be wrong here, but I do believe it was one of my very first subtitled films I saw. I believe Pan's Labyrinth was number one, but this could have been the second one actually. So I wasn't already watching subtitled movies, and it is something that you have to get used to, but the first time I watched this movie, I did not understand the praise it got. And I remember thinking that this movie just had too many cliches, especially with the characters like, oh, of course, the father's a busy workaholic who doesn't have time for his kid. Yeah, I know where this is going to go. And I remember just thinking this movie was very cliche, it was predictable, and it just did nothing for me the first time I watched it. Like, this movie is deemed by many to be one of the best zombie movies ever, and I just didn't understand that. But I did just rewatch it for the very first time, and I have to say that this movie worked for me much more this time. This is a really good movie. One of the best zombie movies ever? No, I wouldn't go that far. But for what it is, I still got some enjoyment from this movie. I realized this watch just how invested I was in the main character's growth throughout. The father is an absolute dick at the beginning of this movie. He's an unlikable asshole. But watching him grow into becoming a better person by the end of it, you really do buy each and every character beat. And the fact that the daughter's on this train with him in danger, it makes you root for him. You know, the daughter is the one that pushes him towards being a better person, and the situation they're in just only amplifies that. And I really did care for the two main characters, for the father and the daughter and the relationship they had. So I really did care about everything going on in this movie. And the supporting cast for this movie are also quite memorable. My favorite performance in this entire movie is my Dong-Seok, who is legitimately a great actor in this movie. He's badass and tough, but he also feels like a real human with emotions, and he just did a really fantastic job here. Easily the standout performance, and all the asshole humans who just only care about themselves, who are cowardly, you know, they kind of are great villains because it reminds you how the main character was at the beginning of this movie. And the fact that he gets better throughout, it's like they're a warning sign. Like, if he didn't get better, he would be one of the villains here. And I really like that aspect to this movie. I also love the escalation of the story. I think that's very well handled. From the chaos breaking out, the zombie virus on the train, and just everything that happens then. You feel the panic, you feel the terror. And then just going through the different cars to eventually the train lord by the end. Just the progression of this story feels very natural, and it really builds tension well throughout. And there's some real emotion present within this movie. And you also got that extra tension due to the characters. You know the main characters are healthy, but the people don't believe them. And, well, if it's 2021, so if anything, you know, that's definitely a realistic angle. And I dug these zombies. They kind of reminded me of the ones in World War Z, which, yes, that did come out before this movie. Just how they power up on top of each other. They're so fast, they're chaotic. In this movie, when it wants to be, it can be super tense and thrilling. Like, there's a few moments that just have me on the edge of my seat. But where this movie loses me a bit is whenever this movie tries to be an action movie. There's a moment where they have to fight their way through a train by punching the zombies. And just everything we've seen about these zombies up until this point, I just didn't buy it. I didn't buy that these people would be capable of beating up this many zombies. And it did kind of pull me out of it. It kind of lost all that tension that I was building so well for this generic, completely forgettable action moment. And I just wish they embraced this moment differently. Even if they had a weapon or weapons, it would be more believable. Like if they had a baseball bat, but just the fact that they were like punching them, don't really buy it. And the music for this movie didn't work for me. I didn't like the score to it. I felt like it was too sentimental. It was a little much. And when the movie's trying to be emotional, the movie was already emotional in those moments. And the music didn't enhance those moments. In fact, I found it actually distracted from them. So I wasn't a fan of the music in this movie. And the third act, it does start to drag a little bit. It's not as thrilling and as intense as it was. The last act does go on for a little bit too long. It does feel a little too dragged out to the point where you're not as invested in what's going on. But that said, I still really enjoyed this movie on this rewatch. I love how there's that claustrophobic feeling due to everyone being on a train and how the movie uses the environment to properly push the story ahead from the characters having to get from one car to the other. It's just a natural progression of this story, and I think the movie handles it very well. It can be tense and thrilling in moments. The performances are good. There's real emotion present. The characters are really well defined. Oh my goodness, Gavin, learn to speak. I enjoyed this movie much more upon this rewatch. So my original rating for Train to Busan was a 4 out of 10, but on this rewatch, I'll go ahead and give Train to Busan a 7.5 out of 10. Okay, have you seen Train to Busan? Have you ever taken a train to Busan? Let me know in the comments down below. Make sure you like, make sure you comment, make sure you subscribe. Stay tuned for some more videos soon, and Gavin out.